Hello and welcome to my very first speed build. Yay! My name is Tash and this is obviously my very first YouTube video, so welcome on in. Thank you all for being here. I decided for this build that we would be doing a rustic family build. So a family home, I'm not sure what the cost is, but it's 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and the suggestion actually came from someone on Twitter, TextWildChild, who was a wonderful supporter of, the Sims community and just a wonderful human in general. So she's gone ahead and given me that suggestion, and I found an image on Google, which I have not shared here, because I'm not quite sure yet how to. So basically here we're just going through using the Google image as reference and trying to figure out exactly how I want it to look, how the outline, like the outside shell, is going to look. Usually I'll go through and I'll do my shell, then I'll go and I'll do the floor plan next before I do any landscaping or any furnishing. That way, if I need to make any changes to the exterior of the house, I'm not messing up anything that I've done outside. So just going through, figuring out the floor plan now, trying to figure out exactly where I want everything to be. It took me a little while to figure out where I wanted the stairs and tweaking how I was going to make the floor plan work, but we worked it out in the end. This video, by the way, will be a 3-parter, pretty much down to the fact that I'm a slow builder and I do heaps of detail in my builds. So because of that, I had more than 14 hours of footage, and I had to cut out pauses and whatnot from that, but there's still a lot of footage and a lot of detail, and I figured, one long video of like 2+ hours is too much for a speed build, but maybe if I do it in 3 parts, then we can figure out if that's something you guys enjoy watching, or if I need to start editing out a lot of the detail, if it's becoming tedious or not something you guys are interested in. So I thought we'd just give it a go and see. Took me a little while here to figure out how to get the roof line to work the way I wanted it to. It was really frustrating me for a decent amount of time. It really shouldn't have taken me as long as it did, but we figured it out. Just took me a little while to figure out how I wanted the roof pitch to go, because I wanted a balcony here. And in a little bit too, you'll see where I am having issues trying to figure out how I want the balcony to work with the roof as well, so it didn't look weird just having that bit of roof sitting there on the balcony. This is one of my favourite things to do, is using the short fence, the window shopper fence, I think, to create sort of like a pergola kind of feel. So going through now and trying to figure out exactly what kind of door I want to use. I ended up going with something from Strangerville. I don't know why I said that, like Strangerville, right? Anyway, because I wanted something that looked modern, but also still kind of rustic, and I think Strangerville really has a nice balance when it comes to that. The idea for this home was to have something that was perhaps an old rustic family home that hadn't been looked after, and a family moves in and they don't necessarily have, a ton of money or anything like that, but they bring all their old furniture with them and they start upgrading the home bit by bit, sort of similar to how, I don't know about you guys, but how I play The Sims is I like to make them earn money and then build the house or expand the house or build a new house as they start to earn more money. So that sort of thing. The idea was that they'd come in and I wanted a sort of an eclectic feel to it. So some parts were sort of feeling a bit more new and modern and refreshed, but still in that country style, and other parts were a bit more old and run down and didn't necessarily look new or even particularly nice. So yeah, that's the reasoning behind a lot of the choices I made in terms of the aesthetic. I went with some windows here from University, I think purely because they had that rustic feel, but they also didn't feel closed off. They let in a bit of light, and I will say, thank God we have the ability to alt place windows now. it was really hard to find a set of windows that really worked for the feel I wanted for the home, but being able to stack them together and alt place them using move objects as well made a huge difference, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. I have used a lot of packs in this build, by the way, you guys, but I'm more than happy to attempt, in quotation marks, because I'm not good at limiting myself in terms of budget or packs, but I'm happy to sort of try and do some more limited builds if that's something you're interested in. But generally the way I like to build is if I have the stuff available to me, then I want to try and use it to make the most unique or interesting build that I can. But I'm not against limiting packs. I think that's also incredibly valuable. So I haven't limited myself here, but we can look at doing that in the future. And you know, you guys are always welcome to drop comments down below with suggestions. Follow me on Twitter, which I'll have linked in the description box as well. So you can follow me there and, you know, give me suggestions for ideas and that sort of thing as well. And I also stream over on Twitch, which I will also have linked. So you're always welcome to come by a stream and participate in live time building, which is much slower and more tedious, but, you know, it can be fun too. I ended up actually changing what I've done here for the exterior colours because I just hated it. I was working off the picture that I found on Google, but it just didn't, it felt really drab and dark and I just wasn't happy with it, so I ended up changing it all up completely. But I do keep the floorboards from Jungle Adventure because they're one of my favourites, but they just have that really nice rustic vibe to them, which I really enjoy. Just fiddling around with the floor plan here as well, trying to figure out, because the living room is quite small, so trying to figure out how to make the bedrooms feel spacious enough to fit multiple kids in if you've got a bigger family, but it's a small house, so you've only got a certain amount of rooms, but also have a spacious enough living room that you can sort of utilize it as a family. So it took me a little bit to figure it out, and I ended up popping a laundry in one of the bedrooms and having a door out onto that little side patio, which worked out really well actually, and was a suggestion from my husband because I was raging that I couldn't make it work, and it felt just a bit off. The floor plan didn't feel really well resolved, and that made a huge difference for me. So I really enjoyed being able to add that in and make it feel a bit more real, I guess. So that was fun, and like I said earlier, this will be a 3-part video due to the fact that I do so much detail. So the next part will be pretty much, it'll be like a bit more landscaping and starting to furnish, and then the last one will be finishing off landscaping and finishing off the furnishing. But like I said, let me know if that's something you guys are enjoying, or, you know, if that sort of sets me apart enough and it's something you want to see or not. But yeah, just here I'm trying to figure out, I was actually trying to match this, the garden bed in the picture I was using as a reference. Oh my god, my words. It had some raised flower beds, which I really liked the look of, but I was having a lot of trouble because I didn't really know exactly how I wanted to lay out this whole landscape, how I wanted it to flow from the back to the front to the side and make it feel like a finished home, make it feel like it was overgrown but also well taken care of, you know, so lush but not overly manicured. I end up deleting this entirely, this whatever the heck it is I've got going on next to the steps there. It's awful. I flatten it out, and I finally kind of get into a groove. Once I start placing down some bushes later in a more curved pattern, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I like, and then I was able to sort of run with it and work through some terrain paint, and I got it to where I wanted it to be, but it was a bigger process than I expected it to be. I did cut out a lot of the terrain paint there as well, because I imagine it's a bit tedious to watch, so yeah, I've cut out a good chunk of that. But like I said before, I welcome feedback. So you guys let me know what works and what doesn't work, what you like to watch and what you don't like to watch. That being said, obviously I'm going to build what I like to build, and I'm going to leave in things that I think are important and whatnot, but I appreciate the feedback, for sure. Using the get-together mailbox because it has that country vibe. It would be nice to have some new mailboxes with a bit of a different variety, because there are so many different ones out there, but who knows if that will ever happen. Also utilising different types of columns. the ones with the stone from Seasons, and as well as some plain ones, so it didn't feel too chunky. And here you can see I'm starting to change the exterior colours because I wasn't happy. It just feels really dark and drab. It didn't feel fresh and new, so I figured, hey, maybe they painted the siding and like touched up the stone or the brickwork. I don't know. I think it looks way better now than what it did before, especially once I start adding in flower boxes and landscaping and all of that fun stuff as well. Comes along pretty well, and here you can see this is where I started to get my groove when it came to the landscaping. And I started to think, oh yeah, okay, I'm really liking these more organic curved flower beds. I think they look a little bit nicer. And then I delete what's next to the steps altogether. Placing rocks is also a really good way to fill in an area to make it feel like it has a bit of structure and fill in a space without having to seriously crowd it with plants. And layering plants with move objects is another tip that I have when it comes to landscaping. Layer those plants, but keep them in a more condensed area so you get something that looks full but also has a bit of visual interest to it. But it's also not overwhelming. At least to me, anyway. You will see many times me trying to type and failing miserably because of who I am as a person. This is a bench that I don't use very often from Outdoor Retreat that I think looked really nice and worked really well for that area. Felt rustic, felt like it belonged there, but wasn't necessarily brand new, which was really nice. And then I was just filling in. I spent ages figuring out where I wanted that dirt path to be, and then I decided that I wanted gravel because it felt more like something that would belong there naturally. But for some reason, I didn't curve it when it was coming out of the path to the front door. So there's like this square section and it looks awful, and I have no idea why I didn't even notice that I'd done that and fix it. And I have re-edited this footage like 5 times because, you know, it's my first video, so I'm still learning. And every time I notice it, I want to tear my hair out and scratch out my own eyes. I am well aware of how dramatic I'm being, and I don't care. I feel how I feel. I also left like one of the pipes on the outside of the house at the back. I changed all of them to a dark brown colour to match the trim of the house and left that one white, you know, just because of who I am as a person. It's fine. We're fine. It was good to clutter up this little garden but add the border, like the fence border, to make it feel a little bit more structured as well and not quite so not quite as free and organic as the other garden beds. And I also do that around the side of the house shortly as well. Just adding in those plants. I think, are they the ones from Island Living? I can't remember, but especially being able to size plants up and down and get some variety in size, which makes a huge difference. But some of those plants from the newer packs that are just so beautiful, even if they're big, we can size them down, so it works out really well, and they fit really nicely in so many different areas. Moving the mailbox to somewhere that it works better. I'm not sure if I tested that and if that works. I did play test the house, but I'm not sure if I tested whether or not the mailbox works. So if it doesn't and you download this once I've uploaded it, then sorry. Also like the deck using the stilted foundation at the back. It makes it feel more like it's a more recent addition. Which is, I'm not sure if it's a common thing in other countries, but in Australia it's very common to have a stilted deck, and I just love how it looks. This is the part where I almost rage quit, so that was fun. As you can see, it just kept trying to snap to the wall, and I was ready to throw my entire PC out the window. I added a wall to try and place the wall feature onto it and then delete the wall, but it also didn't want to work, so I just left the wall there. Thought, it feels a bit more enclosed. It's fine, this will be fine. I think it looked okay in the end, and I also liked the fact that I had used those to create a barrier to the roof so it felt less awkward. And I've grabbed out a lot of different plants here. I'm sure I'm not the only person who just grabs out what they might want for a room or an area and leaves it out or scattered all around the build, and then you pull them out and fiddle with them and then delete what you don't want. especially if you're using debug and you can't clone the items. I've used actually a few items from Journey to Batu, including I ended up choosing a wall sconce from Batu for outside, which, listen, I feel how you feel. I know, I get it, I understand, I feel your pain. Feel free to cry on my shoulder. However, the build buy objects are really good. They're really good and really useful. So I have used them, and I will continue to use them, and I will not apologise for it. Especially because lighting is so important outside. I actually grabbed out, in a second you'll see, I grab out a light, like a wall light, there it is, from Seasons, which I never ever use, which is sad because I love it. It's beautiful, but it gives out so little light that I never have anywhere to use it because it does nothing. Like, there's no point in having it, and I really wish they would do something to update how bright that light is, because I could use it so much more. I don't think I've ever used it in a builder, even though I really love how it looks aesthetically, just because of how useless it is. Here I'm just sort of figuring out how I want the front space to look, deleting what I'd done next to the stairs, which just didn't work for me, and just adding in some foliage and stuff that feels a bit more organic. I do have some screenshots at the end of this video coming up soon, which you guys will actually see some of the stuff that I've done later on, because I didn't take progress shots as I was doing it, but I didn't want to have just one screenshot of the front at the end of the video. So I've popped in some, I guess, sneak peeks of what the exterior will look like when it's finished. But if that's something that you guys think is not really what you like, or you don't really want to see before the video is uploaded, or before the next part, and before you see the build progress, then that's totally fine, let me know. But I thought it might be fun to be able to have a look and see how it progresses in the next part before it happens. Just adding some columns on the edges as well to finish off the house, make it look more complete, and trying to choose fences. I went with a combination of some log and stone fences because it felt really rural to me. Rural? I don't know. Listen, words are hard. Speaking is hard. It felt more rustic. Yeah. And it worked really well. It's something that I saw a lot growing up when I was a kid, and I'd see it around my grandparents' farm and whatnot, and I think it gave it a more authentic feel to the build, so I'm really glad with how that came along and how it ends up looking, which you don't see here, but you will see in the next video. Using the wall pieces from, I think they're from Snowy Escape, and vines to sort of create a trellis look on the side, which I thought looked really nice. I like using sort of wall plants on the outside, especially of these more rustic builds. It makes them feel like they belong on a farm, like beautiful cottage kind of feel. I don't know, I love it. And that was the pipe that I left white because I'm an idiot. Just trying to choose what plants I want to go here. Took me a little while to figure out how I wanted to make it look Phil? Okay. Maybe I should just upload these with music instead of voiceovers. Trying to make it look full, but also not clashing with what's going on in the front. Using similar style of plants, similar items, and a similar aesthetic while not keeping it exactly the same. And I think it turned out pretty well, especially with, like I said, being able to size items up and down. Oh god, I remember the days when The Sims 4 released. We didn't have move objects and we couldn't resize items. And it was just hell. It was actual building hell. But now we have this, and it's beautiful, and the world is sunny again. Screenshots are about to start, so I'd like to just say thank you all so much for being here for my first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really look forward to uploading the next part and sharing that with you all as well. So I will see you guys all in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because apparently that's what you're supposed to say. Or don't, you know, I'm cool either way. I just want you to enjoy it. That's all I care about. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.